Lesson 16, I will solve two-step word problems using the standard subtraction algorithm. Today we are going to be working on problem solving. So I am going to tell you that we are not going to use our math journal today. We are going to go right straight to our problem set because if you haven't noticed already, it is 3 pages. So we're going to start right with our problem set today. And as we are looking at these word problems, we're going to remember that we are always going to use the RDW process with any word problem. That is read, draw, and write. So let's take a look at our directions today. It says estimate first and then solve each problem. Model a problem with a tape diagram. Explain if your answer is reasonable. So on Monday, a farmer sowed 25,196 pounds of potatoes. On Tuesday, he sowed 18,023 pounds. On Wednesday, he sowed some more potatoes. In all, he sowed 62,409 pounds of potatoes. About how many pounds of potatoes did the farmer sell on Wednesday? Estimate by rounding each value to the nearest thousand and then compute. So I read the problem, now I'm ready to draw. And I'm going to use a tape diagram. And on this tape diagram, I'm actually going to divide it into 3 parts. I know that in all, the whole entire box has 62,409 pounds of potatoes. I know that on Monday, he sowed 25,196 pounds of potatoes. On Tuesday, he sowed 18,023 pounds of potatoes. And it says on Wednesday, he sowed some more. So I'm just going to put a P for potatoes because I don't really know how much that is. Now, A says about. That's a clue to me that I am estimating. And it tells me to estimate each value to the nearest thousand and then compute. So to find out how much he sowed on Wednesday, there are a couple of strategies I could use. I could start with the whole and take away 25,196, and then after I find out that answer, I could take away 18,023, and then that would leave me with P, or I could add these two numbers together and subtract once. So it depends on you. I would rather add once and subtract once than subtract twice. So, but I'm estimating. Start with my total, and my total is 62,409, and that's going to be my first number, 62,409, and I'm going to take away the sum of 25,196 plus 18,023. Now I could go ahead and add these together and subtract, but that would defeat the purpose of estimating. The whole purpose of estimating is, in this case, I'm estimating to see if my answer is accurate or to be able to kind of check my answer. So I'm going to round this to the nearest thousand. So there are 62 thousands, so 62,409 comes between 60,000 and 70,000. It's closer to 60,000. That should actually be 62,000 since I'm rounding to 60,000. Between 62,000 and 63,000, it's closer to 62,000. And I'm going to subtract that from 25,196 would round to 25,000. 18,023 would round to 18,000. So 25 plus 18. You could do that in your head, or you can come up here and write that out. 18 is, so I'm going to have 62,000 minus 43,000. You could come up here and write 62 minus 43. I know 62 minus 40 is going to be 20,000. And then 20,000 minus 3 more would be 62,000 minus 40,000 is 22,000. 22,000 minus 3 more would be 90,000. So there are about 19,000 potatoes sowed on Wednesday. I'm not going to write my sentence yet because I'm not finished with this problem. Now it says find the precise number of potatoes. And basically what that means is find the exact answer. So this time I'm going to have to add and subtract to find the actual answer. So I'm going to start by writing 25,196 plus 18,023. I'm going to add these together first. So I have 9, 13, and 4. So I have 43,212. And I'm going to subtract that from 62,119. So I'm going to look and see if I'm ready to subtract. I'm ready to subtract in the ones place, but not in the tens place. So I'm going to decompose the 4 into 3 and make the 10. Now I'm ready to subtract in the tens and the hundreds, but I'm not ready in the thousands. So I'm going to decompose this 10,000. So I'm not ready to subtract it. My actual answer is 19,100. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write my sentence. And I'm going to go ahead and say, there were 19,190 pounds of potatoes. I'm going to sowed on Wednesday. Okay, so let's take a look at problem C. Is your precise answer reasonable? So I'm going to put this on split screen so that I can see. You can see obviously your whole page, but I can't. So it says compare your estimate from A to your answer B. Write a sentence to explain your thinking. Well, my estimate was 19,000 and my actual answer was 19,190. So is your precise answer reasonable? So I'm going to say yes, my precise answer is reasonable because they are very close. All right, let's take a look at the next page. Yeah, this split screen. Okay, so a gas station has two pumps. Pump A dispensed 24,752 gallons. Pump B dispensed 113,916 more gallons than Pump A. About how many gallons did both pumps dispense? Estimate by rounding each value to the nearest 100,000 and then compute. Okay, so here is my tape diagram. Okay, I have, this is my total number of gallons, and that's actually what I'm trying to find out. So I'm going to write T for total, and I'm going to have three parts here. This might seem a little strange for you, but pump A has 241,752 gallons. Pump B dispensed 113,916 more gallons. So that means that it dispensed this 241,752 gallons, and it also dispensed 113,916 more. So these two parts here together would be pump B, and this would be pump A. That's why I decided to write inside the box. So it says about how many gallons, and it says round each value to the nearest 100,000. So I like that. That's going to give me lots of zeros. So 241,752 would round to 200,000. So I would have 200,000 plus another 200,000, and then 113,000 would round to 100,000. This is going to be really easy to add. So the answer would be 500,000. That's my estimate. Exactly how many gallons did both pumps dispense? So now here, I'm going to have to find out the actual answer. I'm actually going to use this area right here because it's hard for me to write small with this pen. So I've got 241,752 gallons, 241,752 gallons, and 113,916 gallons. All right, this would be 10, 12. Have 14, 15 plus 9 is 24. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then times 5. So I have 597,420 gallons. So both pumps dispensed 597,420 gallons. Assess the reasonableness of your answer in B. Use your estimate from A to explain. So my estimate was 500,000 and my actual answer was 597,000. I think I'm actually going to type my answer. I think I can do it a lot faster. So, is my answer reasonable? I'm going to say, yes, my answer is reasonable. My estimate of 500,000 is close to 597,420. And I'm going to go ahead and stop there, but I want you to think about this. You might be thinking, well, 500,000 is not really that close to 597,420. And actually, it's not super close. But the reason why these aren't super close is because I rounded to the hundred thousands place. If I rounded to something a little bit smaller, like to the hundreds or to the thousands, my answer would have been more accurate. But even though it's not super close or super accurate, I still know that it's in the general ballpark area, so I would still say that my answer is reasonable. All right, so let's take a look at 3. Martin's car had 86,456 miles on it. Of that distance, Martin's wife drove 24,901 miles, and his son drove 7,997 miles. Martin drove the rest. Okay, so let's take a look at this. All right, so we've got a tape diagram here. I'm going to go ahead and draw this tape diagram this way so it'll be a little bit neat. Okay, so here's my tape diagram. Now, the total number of miles on Martin's car is given to me. It says that Martin drove 86,456 miles. Now, our tape diagram is going to be divided into 3 groups here. It says that Martin's wife drove 24,901 miles, his son drove 7,997 miles, and Martin drove the rest. Now it says, about how many miles did Martin drive? Round each value to estimate. It doesn't tell me what to round it to. Just kind of nice because it means that I get to use my own judgment. But in order to figure out M, I'm going to have to take this portion away from the whole and see what's left over. So again, I would rather add once and subtract once and subtract twice. So I've got 86,456, and from that I'm going to take away 24,901 plus 7,997. But again, I'm estimating. So I'm looking, and this has 10,000s, this has 10,000s, and this has 10,000s. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and round to the 10,000s place. So this would be 90,000 minus, and now here I've got 20,000, and this has no 10,000s, but it's close to 10,000. So I'm going to say minus 20,000 plus 10,000. So this would be 30,000, and 90,000 minus 30,000 would leave 60,000. So Martin drove about 60,000 miles. Now it wants the exact answer. So I'm going to take 24,901 plus 7,997. Let's see what I get. So I get 8, 9, 18, which would be 12, and 3. So 32,898 miles. And then I'm going to subtract that from the total miles on the car, which is 86,456, minus 32,898. And let's see what we get. So I'm not ready to subtract in the 1, so I'm going to decompose here. I'm not ready to subtract in the 10, so I'm going to decompose. Not ready to subtract in the hundreds, so I'm going to decompose. I'm ready to subtract everywhere. So I have 8, 5, 5. So Martin drove 53,508. Now it says assess the reasonableness of your answer. Use your estimate from A to explain. So my answer is reasonable. My estimate answer, not the precise answer. My actual answer, or my exact answer, was 50,508. Okay, so yes, my answer is reasonable because my estimate was 60,000 and my actual answer was 53,558, and they are close. So it is reasonable. All right, so let's keep going. If you feel comfortable trying the next one on your own, go for it. Read it and see if you can do it all by yourself, and then check back with the video to see if you did it correctly. So a class read 3,452 pages the first week and 4,090 more pages, I'm going to underline more pages in the second week than in the first week. How many pages had they read by the end of the second week? Is your answer reasonable? Explain how you know using estimation. So let's start with our T diagram. Okay, so we're trying to figure out how many pages they read at the end of the first week and the second week. So for the first week, they read 3,452 pages. In the second week, they read the same 3,450 pages, but they also read 4,090 pages more. Okay? I'm not really sure why I went from the bottom to the top, but it doesn't really matter. Altogether, this will tell me how many pages they've read in both weeks. Okay, so first I'm going to estimate just like I've been doing on all my problems, and I'm going to round to the nearest thousand because all of these numbers are in the thousands, and that'll give me lots of zeros and make it a lot easier. So I've got 3,000 plus 3,000 plus 4,000. So I just rounded all those numbers to the nearest thousand. So that would give me 3 plus 3, which is 6, plus 4. So that gives me 10,000 pages. And now I'm going to find my actual answer. So I've got 3,452, 3,452 plus 4,004, and then 15, and then I have 10. So my actual answer is 10,994. So I'm going to go ahead and write my sentence, and I'm going to say, go back and look at my question. It says, how many pages had they read by the end of the second week? So, class read 10,994 pages. Okay. Next it says, is your answer reasonable? Explain how you know using estimation. So I'm going to type this because I can type a lot faster than I can write with a pen. And I'm just going to say again, yes, my answer, which should be a capital, yes, my answer is reasonable. Because my estimate 10,000 pages very close to 10,900. So, all right, problem number 5. A cargo plane weighed 500,000 pounds. After the first load was taken off, the airplane weighed 437,981 pounds. Then 16,478 more pounds were taken off. What was the total number of pounds of cargo removed from the plane? Is your answer reasonable? Explain. Okay, So we have a cargo plane, and it weighed 500,000 pounds. So after the first load was taken off, and we don't know what that first load was, so I'm just going to call this F for first. After the first load was taken off, the plane weighed 437,981 pounds. And then 16,478 more pounds were taken off. What was the total number of pounds of cargo removed from the plane? Is your answer reasonable? Okay, so whatever F was, plus whatever the plane weighed after F was taken off, plus the 16,000 is going to give me the whole total 500,000. So this is a little bit confusing, but it says, what was the total number of pounds of cargo removed from the plane? This was not cargo. This is how much the plane weighed. Okay, this was the first load, and this was the second load. So I don't need to add this number to figure out the answer, or to include in my answer, but I need this number to figure out what F is. So I'm going to estimate. I have 100,000s and I have 10,000s. Now, if I round these to the 100,000, my number is going to get really inaccurate. So I'm going to round to the 10,000s. So I've got 437,000. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, 430,000 and 440,000. This is close to 440,000. So I've got 500,000. I'm going to subtract 400,000 plus, and this is 16,000, that rounds to 20,000. So I've got 500,000 minus 400,000, and that leaves 80,000. So that means that F was about 80,000. But the question doesn't say what was the first load. It says what was the total number of pounds removed from the plane. So I have to add F, which is about 80,000, back to the second load, which was about 20,000. So 80,000 plus 20,000 give me 100,000. So about 100,000 pounds of cargo. Now I'm going to find the actual answer. So I'm going to figure out what the first load weighed. So I'm going to take 437,981 plus 16,478. I'm going to find out how many pounds that was. I have 9, 15, 13. So that would be 454,459 pounds. So I'm going to subtract that to plane weight, which is 500,000 pounds. Anywhere because I have all of these zeros. So I have to go to the 100,000s and become 4 when I pose. And now 10, and I'm going to 10,000s. So this becomes 10. I'm going to decompose this. Tens becomes 10. And I'm going to decompose a 10 so that the hundredths becomes a 10. Now I'm ready to subtract. So first load was 45,541 pounds. But again, the question says what was the total number of pounds of cargo removed from the plane? So I have to take that 45,541 pounds, add it to the second load, which was 16,408 pounds. So that gives me 12, 62,019 pounds. Okay, so our sentence would be, and I think I'm going to go ahead and type all of this today. All right, so our sentence would be total number, now let's start with 62,000. 62,019 answer is reasonable. $80,000 answer. That's it. I know that was a lot. Take your time and good luck on your exam.